podcast. My name's Andy Taylor, and I am joined, as always, by Stuart, Andrew, and Isaac Alcorn as we come to you as usual from on a weekday to bring you a roundup of everything that's going on in the contact world. But I am in the middle of nowhere, basically. So let's see how this goes. I am currently with the in-laws, hence why I'm in what looks like a boudoir, but no, it's not. It's a bedroom somewhere in the middle of Northern Ireland, trying to keep up with everything that's going on in British American football. But we are obviously back together to talk about what has happened and what will happen, and finally we can start talking about the summer season. So the BAFA National Leagues, powered by the Union Jack Classic, we'll be able to talk to you about, and we'll have to try and shorten that a little bit, won't we? Because that'll take a lot of airtime otherwise going into the summer. So we'll start previewing that and see how we go. So we have some news to talk about. We have a result to talk about from the weekend as well, and then we'll preview the conference cups from tier 2 of BUCS, and then we will head straight into the mixed adult contact leagues this time around, and we'll probably end up saving, I can imagine, the other divisions and the other formats for another week, so we've got something to talk about when there isn't any results to talk about, obviously. So any of you get out and about at the weekend? Obviously I managed to get on a ferry to Ireland, but otherwise any of you get out and about this week?
Yep, I disappeared down to Oxford on Friday, which
Nice.
we'll come on to a little bit. But yeah, that was I eventually saw 5 games in, I think it was 6 days. So yeah, having gone from 0 football in about 4 months, 5 games in 6 days was overload, put it that way.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome, and certainly something that we'll be able to get more of as we get some northeastern and northwestern sort of games going as well, don't we? Because there's not been a lot of northwestern games in BUCS this year. Let's just look at how many games LJMU have played. So yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the stuff that we are obviously really itching to talk about, which is the stuff on the field, we want to obviously bring up the subject of the very, very sad news that dropped. Was it yesterday? Was that Stuart, that dropped? It might have been 2 days ago now. I'm losing my marbles a little bit, but unfortunately, the news came down from, I think it was his wife that posted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Whose name is Amanda, and unfortunately, Coach Anthony Fitzpatrick, who is not a name that I'd heard of, but looking at all the comments and all the stories that have come out from it, it's certainly somebody that a lot of people across British American football knew of, and unfortunately, Coach Anthony Fitzpatrick unfortunately passed away this week. And Stuart, you obviously, I saw that you were in touch with his wife Amanda, and having some conversations with her. Do you want to take this and just inform the viewers of the unfortunate loss to the community?
Yeah, can do. I can't remember whether I saw it on her story or her feed first, but that was where I sort of started. Obviously, with news like this, you want to make sure that the family are, first of all, okay, and comfortable with us sharing the news. It's not something that you want to just share and then have to retract. So I spoke to Amanda and approached her, sent our thoughts and condolences from myself and everyone at inside Britball, and then asked for permission to use the photograph that she'd put out with his date of birth on, and we wanted to try and pay the respects that Coach Fitz deserved, because he was a huge influence on a lot of people across our sport at various different levels. I know that I had some interactions with and against him at SGS through my time at Birmingham, and also a couple of coaching and short official courses that I'd done down there. So I know for a fact that we'll have crossed paths there. But a lot of people that I know who have also messaged in or messaged me personally have said what a passionate and fantastic coach he was through various different levels. I know London Blitz was another one that he was heavily involved with, and then since the diagnosis of his cancer, I know that he's done a couple of remote roles as well. There was certainly one coach that reached out to me and said that he was doing remote quality control and video analysis. So once this disease that is plaguing a lot of us sort of was diagnosed, he still wanted to focus on the football, and I think that just shows the strength in the guy and the character, that after sort of family, football is another love that people just want to keep involved with. And yeah, right up until I think it was Sunday afternoon that Amanda broke the news. His family were around him. He was receiving care from the Sue Ryder Foundation that we shared, both through our post and also the Book of Remembrance or celebration, I think is probably a better way of calling it, because people like this in our sport, we really need to celebrate. Yes, remember is another word, but yeah, these sort of characters, these sort of colossal people within our sport that give so much and offer so much. I know there's lots and lots of coaches that I've seen pay their sort of tributes and memories on that page, but parents of players saying how thankful they were that he coached their children. So yeah, a huge loss in the landscape of British American football, unfortunately.
I mean, looking at a number of the tributes that have been put just on our social media post, that Nathan on YouTube shares a lot of the sentiments that others have said. Coach Fitz was a legend. Any game I did involving pride, he was a class guy who always handed himself with class and dignity. Amanda wrote on our post saying, "Thank you for sharing. He loved this sport and loved coaching." Yeah, back to 2000. Someone said back to in 2009, playing O-line for the London Blitz was when he came across. It came across Coach Fitzpatrick, which apparently Amanda says he didn't particularly like, did he? But that nickname, but that's okay. But yeah, there's lots of thoughts going out there to obviously his family from the community, and maybe we'll share that again. Maybe we'll share that link, because we did share that link for the Book of Remembrance, if you like, on our stories. Maybe we'll share that again. And Isaac, for you, you even mentioned how even guys way up in Yorkshire who had come across this legend of a coach as well, wasn't it? Through his links through a number of programs.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's someone who was at the heart of American football in this country, really. You look at the coaching jobs he's had at the London Blitz or the SJS Pride. He's someone who epitomised American football in this country. Someone who's hardworking and wanted to progress the sport forward. And it sounds like he's done that up until he sadly passed away. So no, I think it's a big loss to the community. And again, it shows how strong our community is, doesn't it? When everyone could come together and just remember the man. Remember the coach, remember who he was as a person and what he did for the sport, rather than anything else. And yeah, it's always a nice thing to see when on our posts on the digital website thing, where people put in the memories, even in our comment section now, that people are putting their memories and their thoughts. That incredible coach has sadly passed away.
100%. So moving on to slightly more light-hearted news, I suppose. Let's move on to some of the results that we've had, and also we'll look forward to the finals that we've got left in the BUCS 2025-2026 season. But sure, that when was it? Friday, we had the final inter-services game, where it was RAF versus the Army. And RAF ended up coming out victors there, didn't they? And ended up taking the crown of the inter-services game in the end.
They did. It was very, very even, to be fair, up towards half time. And then sort of in the second half, RAF, excuse the pun, kind of took flight. And I know I mentioned it on the stories quite a bit, that they were using their passing game or their air raid game to full success, if I'm really honest. I will just mention in the first quarter, there was quite a nasty injury to one of the Army guys. Initially, I thought it was the way that he'd sort of landed on his head or his neck, but it turns out that it was quite a gruesome arm injury. And he did post an update on the Army Instagram the other day saying that he's got an appointment tomorrow. Today is Wednesday, so tomorrow, Thursday, to see if he'll need surgery on the lower part of his arm. But he was really positive about it. The sort of the swelling had gone down, the bruising had gone down. He said he was able to do the mundane day-to-day tasks, which is good to hear the positivity. And yeah, hope all goes well with your appointment tomorrow. But on the day, it was really well handled. Fantastic from a number of coaches from both sidelines. The ambulance was really, really quick as well to turn up. So yeah, that was well done. And then the game got back underway, and there was another injury with an ankle injury. I haven't heard an update on that one, but yeah. I was chatting to someone on the sideline and how they described the inter-services games. They described it as like an early BUCS season game where you've got talent on each roster, but it's kind of backed up with a lot of rookies or sort of first year players. However, they're grown ass men rather than sort of 18 to 21-year-old students. And when I say grown ass men, they're obviously in the Army and the RAF. So gym is something that they get to do quite a bit. And yeah, it was, you could definitely see that on several players. The Army seemed to rely on their run game a lot. They did pass the ball. I think it was the QB 13 passed to 10, 12. And there was another guy whose number fails me. We didn't get rosters on the day, so I can't really give you names, unfortunately. But then when the RAF got going, they were sort of reliant. And I saw highlights from one of their previous games where it was number 5. Scored 5 touchdowns in the first game, and I think he got 2 or maybe 3 in this one. And yeah, he was a little sort of pocket rocket, really, because he was probably not much taller than 5'6", 5'8", and could absolutely move like grease lightning. And I think somebody was saying on the sidelines that he may have signed for Nottingham Caesars adult team this season. So if you're scouting against Nottingham Caesars, look out for previously described person.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and so it's interesting to think because we've had that 3-game series now, haven't we? And obviously RAF have come out on top there, which is it's an interesting sort of format, isn't it? That happens, but it's really good to see that there's another angle to our sport, isn't there, that you can get yourself into? Because I know obviously one of our old colleagues, Mike Woolner, Woolly Mike, he used to always go out there and do commentary on the day, sort of like venue commentary and stuff like that as well, and was heavily involved with that. So I haven't checked my DMs in a couple of days because I've been out and about, but I've probably been sent something by him. He was doing stadium comms.
He was there, but he said he wouldn't send you a full match report because I was there. I was like, no, just do it, mate. Give us a second spin on it, because two heads are better than one type thing, and my memory's not as good as it was. Granted, I didn't get too many blows to the head when I was playing, but my memory is not what it was. So if anybody wants to send us in match reports, shameless plug, on our LinkedIn page there is actually a match report form that I've kind of designed going into this season. If anybody wants to send us match reports, they're more than welcome to fill those in, and we can cover them on the podcast going forward.
I'm sure you meant Linktree, not LinkedIn, but yes, absolutely.
Have
a look on there on our bios there, and you'll be able to pick them up for sure. Really good to get into that and see what's happening there as well, and maybe we'll dive a little bit deeper into that format another day for sure. But that's the only fixture that I can think of. I know there's obviously been pre-seasons, there's been scrimmages up and down the country, which I'm sure. You've had a couple.
I hurt so much.
Who did you have? You had Birmingham, right?
Lincoln.
Oh, Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Right,
okay. Yeah. No, we're looking good. I think we look okay. Donny out there scouting us, a bit scared, scared of the shaky wakey Raiders, but it's fine.
Pre-season hype. There you go. Lovely. Awesome. So let's move on then, because obviously now we've got a bit of previewing to do, which is the what was supposed to be the last three of the book season is now only the last two, because obviously we explained last time we were together. We've not got that playoff promotion game this time around again, as Leeds Beckett decided not to play that game, and therefore Brunel will get promoted, assuming they pass some sort of audit that we touched on last week. Go back and listen to that nonsense. I'm not going to give you the full details, but what we do have is obviously the Conference Cups, don't we? So let's have a look at them. We kind of touched on them last time, but let's give them a bit more airtime, because they're coming up now. So, Isaac, we've got two teams. One that we know quite a lot of, which is the Cambridge Pythons. So we've been able to see their not quite ECG type season, has it? It's kind of been up and up with a bit of down, and they managed to find themselves here in the final, didn't they? Whereas Lancaster have had a heart-stopping season at times, haven't they? And they obviously won't be promoted at the end of all this. This is definitely to put a nice little cake, a nice little icing on their cake of a season, isn't it? But will have a bitter taste to it, won't it? So, what's your thoughts going into this matchup where Cambridge will be playing against Lancaster Bombers?
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because on one hand, you've got a side who's promoted, and realistically, this game doesn't mean a right lot to them. Yeah, it's a bit of silverware, but their hard work's done. They're in Tier 1 next year in the Cambridge Pythons. And then you look at the Lancaster Bombers that lost out on promotion to a coin toss to a team that played one game or two games or something ridiculous like that. And the only reason why it happened like that is because the pitch weren't mapped correctly. It was an absolute mess at the end of the season in that Northwest. And that's kind of it. I think to Lancaster, it proves a lot of people wrong. I think that we all knew that they're a decent team. They've been a good side in this Tier 2 for a long, long time. And just because now they're not getting promoted next season, when you could argue they should be doing over LJMU, you look at that one game they played against each other, 45-2 in the quarterfinals of the playoffs. They deserve, in my opinion, to be going up over LJMU just for that result alone. But yeah, I think it definitely means a lot more to Lancaster Bombers. It's something that they can build on. When we talk, in a second about the South, the UE Bullet 2s, for example, they can't go up, but winning something means a lot more to them because it's something to grow on, it's something to build on. It's that kind of a thing now. Whereas I think with Cambridge, their work's done. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a bit of silverware, but just I think it's more of for a lot of people, this is probably their last game. You look at, Brunel will talk about how distraught they are that a lot of their seniors don't get a run out against Leeds Beckett because they've pulled out, and that was probably the last game they've ever played was against the Pride at Touchdown Tuesday. But it's going to be the same here, that for both sides, I'm going to guess a lot of players will be moving on in the summer, and yeah, it's just the one last run out to see who can, who's the best in Tier 2 football.
Stuart, it's kind of like that in these games, isn't it? It's almost like a seniors' day, isn't it, for a lot of these players? Even if the way that BUCS is aligned, if you like, the Conference Cups ends up being a bit of an afterthought, doesn't it? The way it's all laid out, if you like. Obviously, it's not going to diminish the importance to the players who'll be going up and the coaches that are involved in this game, for sure, is it? But at the end of the day, that if there's anything to go by, it's that claim of being the North Conference Cup winners, but also it's your final game for a lot of players, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, as you say, it kind of gives people one more run out. You can sort of afford to put your final years out for several snaps, maybe in positions that they might not usually do. I know, tendency to put a lever at quarterback to take a QB kneel, or an offensive lineman at fullback so that they can lead block, or providing they've got the right number on their jersey, they can go out at wide receiver and run a route. They might not throw the ball towards them, but hey, they can at least put on their CV that they've ran a route in a Conference Cup final. So yeah, I think bringing it back to your introduction, I think Cambridge have been the most consistent team over the course of the season. Yeah, they've had a couple of losses, but those losses have been by like 1 point both times, I think it was, when I was flicking through the spreadsheet. And again, they might not be the highest scoring team, but similarly, their defense is quite ferocious, and they're not the highest conceding team either. And yeah, I think it depends which Bombers team turns up and whether they can move the ball and score as much as they did against LJMU against Cambridge. And if they do, then we should be in for a great game. But yeah, I think Cambridge just about come out on top. But probably the most important question, and we know that somebody will be in our DMs about this, is are they going to have the bagpipes? And I know that Isaac is going to say it. Are they going to have the bagpipes? Because that's a deal breaker.
If they don't have the bagpipes, I don't see him winning. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, if we touch upon the actual, what we might expect on the field, Lancaster themselves have only conceded 8 points this season. And I mean, yeah, they also haven't played that many games, but in the four games that they have played, but in the 4 games that they have played, including 2 postseason games, only 8 points. That says to me that they're going to be a tough challenge for Cambridge, though. Do we expect that, or are we just putting our hands up and go, we don't know at this point when it comes to the lack of info that we have?
It's pretty much that, because you look at, like we're saying, with the games that Lancashire have played, they've played like recently. They played an LJMU side that they were promoted. I don't think, speaking to one of our players, it'd have been nice to have won, but it wasn't the end of the world. They were promoted after only winning 1 real game, because I think one was a walkover. And then you've got York, who again probably playing a lot of seniors. A lot of people are moving out. They were already promoted. Their job was done. And I think sometimes that the Bombers just wanted it more. I think they want to just prove people wrong. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? It's that that kind of willingness to say, actually, no, we deserve to be in this spot. But no, I think it's that of, we don't know a lot about the Bombers, but we can pick up more data points on the Pythons. So I think it's easier to say the Pythons are going to win based on what we've got, because they're having to play quality sides, like AIU and DMU, who were quality towards the end of the year, and Coventry, and they've played Sunderland, who looked good throughout the year. It's just it's interesting to see how well this one goes, because let's be honest, we haven't got a clue. T2's been an absolute mess this year, and we have not got the foggiest of ideas of how this one's actually going to go.
It's one thing that definitely needs fixing, doesn't it? It feels like it's almost like the dirty side of BUCS, isn't it? Is the way some of these divisions are aligned, aren't they? Certainly if you look at the northeast last year, the northwest this year, it's all been a bit mucky, hasn't it? And it just leads to this sort of
make one big national Div 2 with a north and a south. Just do that. Just
you make it sound like it's easier said than done. Anyway, let's.
It could be easy. It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still very interesting trying to pull it out, isn't it? Where we've got Cambridge, who are a 4-2 team, technically a 6-2 team. Then you've got a Lancaster, who are technically a 4-0 team. Cambridge have scored, on average 20 points a game. Lancaster have scored on average 3 touchdowns a game, other than that 1 game against York. So it's interesting, isn't it? What we're going to see on the day. It feels like it is going to be a close one. Mm-hmm. Let's have a little look at the south then. There we go. So we've had quite a bit of insight here, when it comes to the conversations that both of you have had with Coach Sam Astley, who's the head coach of UE2s. We obviously get a lot of info through from the Queen Mary guys, which is great, and we love it. And Queen Mary have been on almost like on a path to this final, haven't they? Since their early sort of disappointment earlier on in the season, if I remind myself of how that went, they drew, didn't they? No, they lost early on to Imperial, didn't they? It was like a 1-point loss or something earlier on in the season, and then they haven't looked back from that, and they've find themselves here with a promotion as well. Then you've got the UE Bullets 2, who are obviously trying to build this program. Obviously, having someone like Sam Astley at the helm, he's all about program building. He showed that very well with the Samuel Steelers way back when. It feels like years ago now. And this feels like a program building final for them. So it feels like it is a bit of a clash of the tier 2 titans at this point. Stuart, what's your read going into this final?
One, I'm gutted that I'm not going down to it. But two, I'm happy that it is going to be live streamed. So the UWE usual live stream Cheers Mate are going to cover it for the twos team. So it will be live streamed. I'm going to see what favours I can pull and see if I can get out and go down. But it's unlikely on Easter Sunday, but we'll see. How do I see it going? I think it's going to go like most of the other games in that playoff bracket. And I think we're going to see probably an under of 21. I don't think we're going to get many more points, as much as I really want it to be an offensive shootout. I think the Quimble defense will probably stifle the Bullets offense. They didn't really wow the socks off me when I went down to watch them against Reading. They had, again, the splash plays that I spoke about, both on stream and on podcasts. They had the big splash plays. There was the massive touchdown that they scored, the passing touchdown, and a couple of big run plays, but they're very methodical. They run the sort of air raid offense. So they're, sort of passing to set up the run and little gains here, screens there, quick passes. And yeah, having watched the Quimble versus Gloucester game, again, a very defensive heavy game. So yeah, being a defensive coach and a defensive coordinator, I'm looking forward to watching that side of the game. And I'm pretty sure that Cheers Mate will have a really good angle of it. That's not a slight on Tebbs and his Depth Chart Sports production. It's fantastic to have them streaming games. But yeah, they pretty sure that Cheers Mate will elevate their camera on the sideline. So yeah, it'll be a really good angle to dissect the I was going to call it strategy, the game planning and the playbook of both defenses, and then yeah, being able to watch these offenses in full flow, hopefully.
100%. And what sort of insight did you get, Isaac, from Sam into this? Do you think this is going to be a really important game for that program, that knowing that what Sam wants to build?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, speaking to him a few weeks ago now, he was saying that after their loss to the Swansea Titans, which meant they couldn't get promoted, that it will all just playoff football and winning this and having this really as something to build from. The one thing we've got to remember, this isn't like the Golds and the Greens of Nottingham, where the UE2s and UE Bullets 1s are two separate teams. They're very completely different. And I think that kind of helps the twos in a way, because it helps them form their own identity. We see that Coach Astley this year, he's going back out to Finland. He's going to be an offensive coordinator there. So you're seeing a professional level, playbook in action at times, which is incredible at tier 2. And you would definitely have the athletes to be able to do that. I do think Quimble are going to be tough opposition now. You look at the last game against Swansea, where they put over 20 points on Swansea. They've scored 2 touchdowns on Gloucestershire. They've done well all season long, apart from that one loss against Imperial, who have been a real thorn in their side for a couple of years now. But it just looks like a great matchup. You've got a side in the UE Bullets that have all the talent in the world, and apart from one game, have shown what they can do. And yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what can happen here, and just see that what happens in the future for both of these programs. See if Quimble can stay in tier 1 next year, and if UE Bullets 2 can make a step up and keep growing as a program.
A really underrated defense, Queen Mary, right? I was just having a look at some of the stats. I don't think I've heard enough talked about the fact that they've conceded around about 4 points a game, including the playoffs. It's a stifling defense, and against an offense that we've seen at times in the UE Bullet 2s has stuttered, let's say, I wouldn't say struggled, because it's done enough, hasn't it? It's found itself in the final, but stuttered at times. So that'll be really good, and not taking away from their defense either. So yeah, another close one, and two deserved finalists. It's probably just a shame that, again, half of the participants in these finals will not find themselves in tier one next year, which is just, it's just odd to say, isn't it, when you're talking about playoff football and American football? But that's the way it's set up. Who are we to complain about anyway? Brilliant. So that's the BUCS kind of wrapped up, and we'll obviously talk about the results of that next week, and we'll wrap up the BUCS 2025-2026 season at that point.
One other thing before we round out BUCS, Andy, we've had both of the contestants reach out about last person standing, and I am pretty sure that I'm going to get you guys to pick both winners on Sunday, and if you get them both right, if both people get both right, then we go back to the drawing board. If one person picks both right and someone gets one wrong, then obviously the winner will get the gift card. If both people get one right, then we go back to the drawing board. And if both people get neither right, then we go back to the drawing board. So please pick different teams.
The odds aren't in our favour there,
I'll
are they?
put I'll put out all the permutations. I'll put out all the permutations, and I'll message both of them on Friday. And both games are on Sunday, so I'll probably put the poll out all day Saturday. So if everybody else wants to pick your winner, go for it. But it is Alexander and Ben, I'm pretty sure, that are still in. And yeah, if it gets to Sunday night and you're both still in, then I will scratch my head, think about it some more, and maybe buy you both Easter eggs.
Maybe we can find another EP Sport voucher at that point, eh? Do our best. To
go cap in hand.
Exactly.
You gotta go with the bagpipes in this situation. If he's there, if he's not, God help you.
Because Isaac's good in this competition.
Yeah. Hey, I went with our red hot form. Okay, I went with the team in form, the team who I thought would absolutely destroy the DMU Lions, and they proved me wrong. So
100%.
I'm still not bitter. I'm still not bitter about it at all. You know, just wait for the adult one if we do an adult one.
Awesome. Right, well, let's get into it then. So we are here to start now thinking about the summer season, aren't we? So let's start talking about the national, so the BAFA National Leagues powered by the Union Jack Classic, which is going to be the naming across all formats from now on for the near future. And because we are half an hour in, I think what we'll do is we will go with the mixed adult contact format to start off with, and then we will, we'll start bringing Kiwi back in, and we'll talk about NWFL, and we'll have a look at the under-19s and the under-16s, because it has been a tumultuous ride this off-season, hasn't it? For if you are in the competition, the competition management team there, and I was trying to remind myself of who they are. So. If you want to spare a thought for Joe Walker and Pete in the competition team there, because they have had ups and downs, to say the least. If you feel like it, if you don't, that's fine. Not a problem.
I think you could say ins and outs, not ups and
ins
downs.
and outs, ups and downs. Yeah, there's all sorts going on. But we're finally there. We've got it. We've got the alignments. We've got the fixtures in. I've tried to do some overarching sort of stats, if you like, as we go. So even though we introduced 2 new associates this season, we have the same number of teams in the mixed adult contact divisions. That's 56 in total. That's a massive drop from, I think it was it 67, 68 that I remember doing fixtures for coming out of COVID. So that's obviously a huge difference. Obviously, to say the least, we've lost London Warriors and Scunthorpe Alphas in a sense within those structures. 50% of the teams are in Division 1, So that tells you obviously quite a bit about what Division 1 means to the league structures. We've got 10 teams obviously in the Premiership now, no longer 12, and Division 2 has expanded slightly. And what was quite interesting looking over just all the big picture is how we've obviously got less teams in the north in Division 1, which we'll get into, but we've got more teams in the north in Division 2. So interesting that if we did balance out the numbers, we would actually have equal numbers across the divisions, which we'll obviously get into in a little more detail. So from what you've seen, before we go into the details, does it feel like we're setting up for a good season? Or are we just been waiting that long now that we're kind of like just grinding our teeth over it? Who wants to jump in first? Because it feels like it's been a stutter, but we've lost two of our best teams in the country. It feels a bit of a downer, but we introduce obviously two new teams, and we kind of find ourselves in a status quo in a sense. But we're gonna hurt from losing those two teams, aren't we? But I don't want to feed your thoughts.
I think both of those points. Oh, thanks. I think both of those thoughts are what has happened. It has been a really long off season. It has been really drawn out. And yeah, certainly last week when we were still waiting for this and still waiting for that, I was I was creating blank templates, going, okay, let's put this in when we get it. Put this in when we get it. However, I think it has been a good off season. I don't know whether people will agree with me on this. And I know that we've touched on this previously as well about shrinking to grow and losing to sort of make other people better. I know that losing the London Warriors is, probably the biggest loss. That's no offense to Scunthorpe Alphas, but their players have kind of dispersed into other teams. But yeah, I feel that whatever's going to go on with the London Warriors / London football team will kind of work its way out. But I think that means now that Prem South, I think it probably becomes less competitive, especially with what the Aztecs are doing. I just think that that's going to be a little bit akin to how the BUCS national Prem was 2 years ago, with Bullets kind of ruling the roost when sort of Gold were there or thereabouts and Durham weren't quite on the scene yet. I feel like we're going to see that in the Prem South this year, with kind of the Aztecs probably going all the way again, certainly to the final, and then it could probably be anybody from the Prem North that gets there. I think it's going to be okay. Let's see who shifted around in the North, player wise, that is, and then see where people land going forward. I was interested in the stats from Division 1 having half the teams. I think with the news that we got that they were looking potentially at merging Division 1 and Division 2, I think that kind of puts a little bit more fuel on the fire that could be a case. And then they just look at how they break up the fixtures for that one. And then they've also got cross-conference fixtures for Div 1, Highlands and Northern, I think they've called it. We do have a graphic somewhere that you haven't quite pulled up yet, Andy, so I'm kind of scrambling around. But yeah, we've got the cross-conference games there, which will be, I think, really interesting to see a lot of our previously strong Northern teams. I know that Yorkshire travel up, don't they? And the other team is going to escape me.
Chester Romans.
Yeah.
Chester Romans, Yorkshire,
stronger Northern teams.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll get into that in a second.
But yeah, talking about fixtures, I think the key one that I'm looking out for is Yorkshire Glasgow, because that's something that kind of alluded to last year, sort of with results and then playoffs, and I think that's going to be the one that I'm earmarking in the cross conference games in Division 1 North to go. Yeah, let's watch that and see what goes on there.
Isaac, what about you then? So how's the feeling? You know, what's the vibes like for the adult contact season going into the 2026 season?
I think it's good. I think it's strange, isn't it? Because it's the thing of right, we've lost two of our best teams. Potentially could lose more next year. What can BAFA do to stop that from happening? The London Warriors going to Europe. I think it was always inevitable that some teams are always going to go there. I think you look at what the Bristol Aztecs are doing now, and you look at the infrastructure at Manchester Titans have around them. They've got a 1,000-seater capacity stadium. That hosts world events now. So we definitely got the teams to do it. I think it's worrying how it's just come out of nothing now. And that's kind of the strange thing. Scunthorpe Alpha's not, going from Div 2 all the way to the Prem, and then all of a sudden not existing in the Scunthorpe Alpha's identity anymore. I think it's a bit strange. Them choosing to merge with the Humber Warhawks and go that kind of route is definitely weird. I think it's going to be a strange season. The cross country there. I can't even say it. It's like bloody Aberystwyth all over again. The cross conference games.
There you go.
Cross conference games. They're going to be interesting to see. Like Stuart said, that the Yorkshire Glasgow game is going to be great. I remember seeing that in a Div 1 fixture. God knows how many years ago it was now, but I remember being a water boy on that game. But definitely, it's going to be an interesting season. It's going to be a strange season, but one that's, I think, towards the end of it, we're going to look back and think, what a brilliant season it's been.
We're heading into turbulent times, isn't it? That's what's happening here, isn't it? It's a transition. We have lost the London Warriors, which is a huge loss to the domestic sport. But with that loss, we get an added tier to the pyramid, don't we? Where we've got a British representative at European level, and you feel as if Bristol will be there in no time, and Manchester, have been building towards that as well, haven't they? And then really it only feels like we need maybe like a Scottish team in there, and then the pack's complete, and you've kind of got that sort of that next step of the tier from Prem to European semi-pro type level. So it feels like we're going to go through this couple of seasons now of transition where we're going to be like, what's it going to look like in two or 3 years time? And that's what makes certainly me nervous about this, is because it could all fall in a heap if we're not careful as well, couldn't it?
Yeah.
So you really do I feel nervous. But as always, when you come to the 1st of April, you go, right, it's summer season time. This is where the fun begins. So it's just normally we've already done this talk 6 weeks ago, haven't we? So we're hoping that, well, no, longer, maybe even 8 weeks ago. So it feels a bit odd sitting in my usual space of the Easter holidays talking about previewing rather than being able to have a couple of weeks off ready for the season. So it is a bit odd, to say the least. I can see some chat coming in. Are we seeing the final season for the Aztecs? Keith asks, are we seeing the final season for the Aztecs in the BAFA leagues? They are likely to not get competitive game for almost the whole season. There can't be much fun in that. And to add to that, Coach Pete Jones has always said he just wants to play the best teams all the time, doesn't he? And there's no doubt that
they're not going to do that. They're not going to. Yeah, they're not going to do that now. You look at the work they're doing there. CEFL.
Yeah.
They play Belfast in a couple of weeks.
Belfast Trojans.
However long. They want to play the best, and unfortunately, that Prem South and BAFA right now. Now there's only 2 teams left. I think could really give them a good game, and that's the Blitz, who looked like they gave them a good game last year. Didn't they beat them on one game last season? I think. And the Manchester Titans that have had the number a couple of times in semi-finals and the like. So yeah, I think do BAFA not take a leaf out of BUCS book and make a national Prem? That's probably a conversation for another day. But we've seen how good that's been for the sport in the BUCS world. So it's definitely something that could be on the horizon for BAFA.
I think the issue, well, I say the issue, it's not an issue. I think the options we have now, though, are BAFA teams going, what next? Obviously, the Warriors dominated the Prem South for years, similar to what we are thinking the Aztecs are going to do this year. And the Warriors were always looking, okay, CEFL, CEFL, CEFL. And it's only really been the last couple of years where there's been this injection of money or flood of money into European football leagues. And now British teams are going, oh, look, there's money over there. Let's have a think. And yeah, it's a bit like, can BAFA do anything? Can they increase minimum standards? But if they increase the standards for the top, how do they then filter that up from the bottom? You've kind of got to bring everybody up with you. And I think with the likes of the health checks, it started. And the likes of the minimum standards that you mentioned, Andy, for BUCS, I know they're sort of all in the game, but I think it's shown over the last 6 to 8 weeks the dates of the health checks. If you've set a date and you miss that date on a Sunday afternoon, well, I'm sorry, Monday you're out. There's no negotiations. There's no, oh, well, we're just getting Joe to sign. We're just getting Dave to sign and Claire to sign here. And then that'll take us to, we're about 33. Let me just, get my friend here and my other coach there. And, he's doing his level 2 here. We've got to start saying.
We've got to start looking.
We've got to start saying, well, you didn't meet it. Sorry. Thank you. Bye. And I think that's what will bring the bottom up, the top down, and we'll settle on that 2-tier structure.
Yeah, I think, the sport as a whole's got to look a bit more professional in itself now. It's in the nicest way possible. I understand that the Alpha's leaving, the Warriors leaving has proven issues. However, not getting a full schedule released to us until 2 weeks ago? Maybe a little bit less, maybe more. That, for a league that starts on the 19th of April, getting the schedule 6 weeks before isn't the best thing. It's I think that the BAFA at the moment have done a lot of stuff right. You look at the work they're doing with the Union Jack Classic. You look at the work that they're doing with Sport England, the flag work they're doing a lot of stuff off the field right. But unfortunately, it seems like the adult league and to an extent the U19s and U16s and the women's league as well has suffered. It's for I understand that a lot of money now is going to flag with it being in the Olympics and stuff like that, but we kind of got to look back onto our roots and to say we've now got a sponsor for the league, the first time since the 80s when we had Budweiser sponsoring us. It's great to see that now slowly we're getting reintroduction back into that kind of professional outlook of what a league should look like.
Yeah, and I think we all know that everyone on this call and probably everybody who's listening and getting involved probably knows that there are reasons for us having it so late, and understand those reasons. But it just doesn't look good, does it? So we, that's all as fans. That's all we're hoping for, is that there's improvements in all aspects, and still we've got a 2026 season to play, haven't we? And there's lots to really look forward to and lots to talk about. So should we have a little look at the alignments for the mixed adult contact? And the way Stuart set this up is north and south rather than through tiers. So let's have a little look at the north to start off with the mixed adult contact, because we've got these here.
The best.
Oh yeah. Magnifying glasses out. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. Fair news. Well, I won't keep it up for too long. So obviously, 5-team Prem North. Let's start there. We've got obviously the Merseyside Nighthawks shocked the world in the playoffs last year and found themselves in the Prem, having beaten two of the teams that we'd probably expected to be in the north. And obviously the Scunthorpe Alphas collapsed after achieving that promotion. So how do we feel about this division to start off with before we go into the others? We've got Manchester Titans, who have been perennial playoff teams, where they're now joined by the Nighthawks, who, in recent years have been hot and cold. They haven't been anywhere in between, really. And then we've now got, EKP, who are continuing to build. The threat of Edinburgh is no longer there. So have they been able to start building that? There's lots of sort of things that, we might do a burning questions type segment down the line in the preview. But in general, how are we feeling about this Prem North, Isaac?
Great. I think it looks really good on paper. You know, you've got Manchester Titans who sit at the top, and I think we'd all expect them to be the number one coming out of the Prem North. But then you got the rest of the chasing pack. You got the Coventry Phoenix, who second year under their new head coach, Nelly. I can't remember his real name, but Nelly. Leading it. The East Goodbye Pirates, who are always going to be dangerous. No one likes to trip up to Scotland, do they? If you're coming from Coventry all the way up there, it's a long old journey. The Nighthawks coming into it is going to be great. I went and saw one of their games last year. They look like aggressive against that Yorkshire side who was supposed to be so great, and they put all doubters to bed. And then you look at the work off the field that the Nottingham Caesars are doing, and what Simon is doing there, and the coaches they've got in, and using what they have at the University of Nottingham and Trent, and having them good connections nearby. It sets itself up for a really, really good season because, as we expect Manchester to be number one, none of these teams are just going to let it happen, are they? You know what I mean? They're going to cause an absolute, I want to say fight, but maybe not fight. But they're all going to put the fight right till the end, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get two teams that we don't normally see in the playoffs this year.
And it feels like the coaching staff is all stable there. I haven't seen too much turnaround in terms of coaching. Have we got all 5 head coaches still there? I think we have, haven't we? In those top 5, I don't think.
No,
Even
I think
so.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All 5 head coaches are still there, and that's good. I haven't seen anything around coordinators. Obviously, Grant's not there at Nottingham anymore, so they've got they need a replacement there at OC. So it feels like there is a bit of stability up north, if you like, and it could turn out to be an interesting division, couldn't it? I suppose it'll be a question of, are we going to get that lame duck at the bottom of the division, as we have done in the last, 8 years, 9 years, where we've had that one that is just there to make the numbers. And
last year we had 2.
Question here.
Well, last year we had 2, and then one forfeited, and it kind of just didn't go right from there. But no, I think
you don't want any.
I don't know if we will. I don't think we will. If I'm honest.
No, I don't. I don't either. I think this is going to be the second most competitive division across the lot.
Nice.
We'll come on to my first one when we go south, but I
think
NFC
2 Midlands. That's going to be
we'll come on to my number 1 strongest when we go to the south. However, speaking about that sort of lame duck at the bottom, I don't think we are. Obviously, you've mentioned Simon Isaac at Caesars. I think he's building on that program. They've obviously got a really strong foundation to start with, if somebody is coming in as OC and not ring double wing, you're probably going to improve slightly. The Merseyside Nighthawks, it'll be interesting to see how they come up to the Premiership. Obviously, they were competitive in all of their games last season, but they probably weren't explosive, I don't think. So it'd be interesting to see whether they can maintain that throughout the Prem North. But as I said, the other, I was trying to say strong teams in the North earlier. You get the Newcastle Vikings coming down. It'll be interesting to see how they find their feet in Division 1 and their cross-country games. Wow, now I'm at it. Cross-conference games against the Scottish division teams. But Isaac, you mentioned that Northern Division. I think they are going to be 2 really competitive divisions, sort of two divisions of 5 teams. Having almost looked at scrapping Division 2, I think these 2 could be really interesting divisions where teams, are really looking to fight their way out of Division 2 into Division 1 again. I think the key word that I used there is fight their way out. I think it is going to be a bit of a dogfight and a bit of a battle to pick up wins and get yourselves out of Division 2 there.
Yeah, 100%. Before we go into a bit more detail with Division 2, let's have a little look at the rest of the divisions and maybe not spend too much time on all of them. We can get into the detail as we go through the next couple of weeks. But we obviously have that cross conference as we talked about. So Scottish and North, they'll be mixing some cross conference up. We'll provide you that detail over our socials if you haven't found them already. But that's interesting, and that obviously leaves NFC Midlands all by itself. So when it comes to as a fan looking in and also trying to analyze things as we try to do and provide some insight, we'll kind of have an idea of the standard of the Scottish and the North, because they'll play cross conference teams, and we'll have an idea of how they'll do in the playoffs by the time we get to that. But the NFC Midlands will be as good as the NFC Midlands is, won't it? And if we have a little look at the detail in a bit more detail there, obviously the Scotland division effectively stays the same. Aberdeen Roughnecks joined there from associate, and they're now they're not joined by the Rossendale BUCS, who are obviously in the Division 2 there. We've got Chester Romans, Newcastle Vikings, Sheffield Giants, and Yorkshire Rams in the north. And then the Midlands are joined by the Leicester Panthers, and I'm trying to get it into my head who dropped down whilst I'm talking.
Newcastle, 2.5.
No, who dropped down to NFC 2 from
Birmingham.
there? Birmingham.
No one.
Thank you.
Birmingham.
Birmingham.
First game of the season, guys.
Yeah.
All that scout's paying off, Isaac. You carry on, mate.
We watched 5 full games of them. It's all just...
But that Midlands division was tasty last year, wasn't it? And actually swapping the Leicester Panthers out, who just cakewalked Division 2 from the Birmingham Bulls, who were, let's say, unlucky to lose their spot in Division 1 with some of the controversy that went on towards the end. That's going to be one hell of a tasty division, isn't it?
Is that the one that we ended up with like 4 ties in last year as well? I remember discussing with Coach Butler from the Black Country Steelers the other day about ties and BAFA rules, and it was more akin to a soccer table division, wasn't it, rather than an American football division?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And we had a game that didn't happen that ended up favouring the average points conceded to the team that didn't play, which was funny, wasn't it?
You've got to be lucky. You got to have that little bit of luck throughout the season.
Lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we thinking the likes of Glasgow are probably still the favourites for the Scotland division? Yeah, not feeling any sort of improvements there.
I mean, Clyde Valley put a good showing out against Gateshead on the weekend. They had a pre-season friendly, so they put out a lot of points over the Senators. But again, it's pre-season. How much can you really read into that? I don't know. I mean, you look at Glasgow and they've just got everything set up, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? They look like a good side, and they're one game away from the Prem last year. That's it. And to lose to Scunthorpe Alphas, who deservedly went up, but obviously don't exist anymore. But it's the Glasgow Tigers. I think are still the favourite in that Scottish.
Yeah, and you would feel that Yorkshire Rams are still in a really good place to do well in that division, would you? Or do you think that Newcastle or Sheffield, because we have to see it from Chester before we see it from Chester, right? What are you thinking?
I think last season, the way it ended for the Rams might hurt them a little bit. And I'm probably going to come to eat my words at the end of the season. They'll probably go up, and I'll accept that. But definitely, I think that the way that Merseyside beat him as well, they were so confident they were going to get into the Prem, and for the first time in a long time, they were going to be playing, Prem North ball again. And Merseyside just handled them so well. Merseyside didn't do anything special on the day. They just did the basics, and it's one thing they did really well. I think that you look at Newcastle, their experience from last year, the coaches they've got. I think we all know they've got some incredible coaches. They've got incredible players. 3 universities that have produced good football this year. With all 3 teams been in the playoffs: Newcastle, Northumbria, and Sunderland. That's going to help them this year. The experience they've already got. That's going to be tricky for them. Sheffield, they played an up-down game last year, but they've recruited well. Got 2 good universities on the doorstep. They've got a good teams program, a lot of good coaches. So yeah, I think that North Division is going to be tasty to see how it ends at the end of the year.
I love the way that you just completely disregarded the national champions in that university around Newcastle as well.
Who?
Durham Saints.
Oh yeah. They're all. Hey, hang on. They're all Americans. They might not be able to get like visas and stuff. So
I mean, yeah, they have had that link the last couple of years, and I think it has come back to bite them in
didn't they have a QB?
Every single bum cheek they've got with every single teeth in their mouth. So yeah.
Didn't they have a QB last year who left after 3 games or something like that, and he got deported? He got deported or something like that. They were telling us.
Yeah. They have had issues with links with Durham, but I still think that helps and feeds into them. So
100%.
yeah,
100%, absolutely. And then if we have a look at the NFC, and this is where it looks a little bit odd, doesn't it? Because if you take two of those teams out of the North and the Midlands in the NFC 2 and put them in the North and the Scottish, easier said than done. Then you have a balanced side. But that's when you don't have to take into consideration geography.
We're
obviously,
happy where we are.
Exactly.
We're happy where we are. Okay.
But still interesting the way it all unfolds, the way it's all unfolded in the end. The only thing that annoys me a little bit is that we kind of see the same a little bit. I know we've got a little bit of change up, and maybe it's just I've not got my finger on the pulse with that, but it feels like we're going to have similar sort of questions for some of these teams again going into this season. But Isaac, you know some of these teams way better than us.
That NFC North, I think, is going to be the one where you get a lot of the same questions. If we're being real, you've got the Steam, the Senators, and the Warhawks, who we all saw play each other twice last year. The Humber Warhawks will be boosted by the fact that they've just merged with the Alphas. If they don't win that division with the coaches, the players they've got from Scunthorpe, I'd be surprised. Darton will make it difficult for them. They had a rocky season last year compared to the year before, losing a head coach, I think, just before the first game of the season. Didn't really help them that much. Gateshead are always going to be dangerous. They're a really good outfit. They know how to play football up there, so that's going to be tough for them. It's going to be interesting to see what the Lancashire Buccaneers and who else
Lancashire Bombers.
Yeah. Going to be interesting to see if Lancashire can improve on last year. I think did they lose every game, or maybe one or two? It weren't looking pretty for them. Year before that, they won 2 games, and they were against Doncaster. And it's not looking pretty. So hopefully they can improve. I think it's nice to have a bit of a change in these divisions sometimes, and there's
also,
no bigger.
The loss of Scunthorpe might benefit them. It's not too far, is it?
I mean, it's benefited us.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I think we've signed 4 players already from them, so it's helping us quite a lot. But no, in that NFC, I can't remember if it's West, Midlands, whatever they call it.
Midlands.
The one that I'm in. Wakefield, that always a very middle of the road kind of mid-table team, aren't they? Doncaster, who are looking to improve. I think they're 2 years into a bit of a mini rebuild, so it'd be interesting to see if they can improve at all. And nice to catch up with some of them on Saturday. Filming us as we're playing, a bit strange. Rosendale, who are completely new, and God knows what they're going to come out looking like. So hard to find any sort of film on them, so it's going to be really unpredictable going into the year. Lee, again, they've had a bit of a rebrand, signed a few new players, got a Manchester Titans youth QB coming in, so that's going to be good for them. A team that, at the end of last season, I was worried about them if they were going to even play this year, and it's good to see that they've passed the health check, and it's kind of a good thing, one of the health checks, isn't it, that you have got proof that these teams can fulfill all the fixtures. And then finally Birmingham, an absolute legend of a program. 41 years old now, I think with a 40th year last year. It's incredible to see a team that's been going since the very start of BAFA and are still going strong in Division 2.
Yeah, it's going to be one of these where you're going to be looking at it going, is there going to be a bounce back from Birmingham? Because we do often see that in Tier 2 or Division 2, where we have a bounce back quite quickly, don't we? But then not always. A Lee Rossendale local derby will be really, really interesting because it's
Yeah.
effectively the same place.
It's-
And then the travel from you and Doncaster really is another thing that
It's a
kind of
local
stands out
derby
to
as
me
well.
there. Another, your local derby with Birmingham. So no, it's really interesting to see, a number of burning questions that we can get into.
Can't wait for 12. Can't wait for a 12 o'clock kickoff at Birmingham. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for the 8 o'clock set off, lads.
Let's go to the way more symmetrical south,
It's so much nicer.
which looks so much better. They're clearly doing something right down there. And obviously, when we look south, the biggest gap in the whole entire of this graphic is the fact that it doesn't say London Warriors on there. And so, do we feel there is going to be much competition in that division between London Blitz and Bristol, or do you think this is going to be a battle for second place with a number of teams? Because we've now got the Wembley Stallions who have come up as well, who were on fire last year, and who knows whether they've been able to benefit from the London Warriors leaving for Europe, because obviously some players from the London Warriors won't be interested in that. London Blitz, can they benefit from it going the other way? And then obviously we've got the Cambridgeshire Cats and the Rushmore Knights in that division as well. What's your feeling going into this, Stuart, with the Prem South?
I think I've pretty much said it previously
Okay.
when we were kind of like recapping it before we went on to the alignments. I think it will be competitive between the Blitz and the Aztec, but I think that's in a way that kind of Tamworth were competitive with the London Warriors like 5 or 10 years or so ago. I think they'll hold them and they'll give them a heck of a game, but I think we always know what the outcome's going to be, and I'm sure a lot of the Blitz A guys will be on me and DMing me and atting me when they win and bulletin board material. Great, use it, guys. Go ahead. And a trip down to Finsbury Park is never a nice trip. I just think the Aztecs bring too much. I think the way that they're building their program, the way that they're recruiting, the way that they're, improving the game as a whole, I just think they bring a little bit too much to that division, and I just see them, going 8-0 and then looking to the north and seeing who they play.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that is where there's a lot of shake up, isn't there? There's a lot of movement there where we don't have if there's one thing that I could ask for improvements in BAFA, it's the transparency of player movement, the rosters, the access to that sort of to information. It'd just be so much better, wouldn't it? Because we have no idea whether there's been a complete dispersion of players from the London Warriors to other teams, right? Interestingly, Coach Russ has said on YouTube that all the games in the Prem South is going to be competitive. So there you go. There's somebody with good insight.
Apart from the ones against the Aztecs, maybe all the rest of them will probably be. It's that kind of thing of you can see the one with Stallions really putting a fight to London Blitz. I think that's going to be a great game when them two match up against each other to see where the Stallions really are. And I can't remember the other two for life. I can't remember who went down in the south, but
Hertfordshire,
and
then so Cambridgeshire are the ones who were left. Yeah.
I think that any game who isn't against the Aztecs, because if the Aztecs can have the same pulling powers what they had last year and get UE guys down, get SGS guys down, I think it's going to be.
They've signed a couple of London Warriors players, haven't they?
Exactly. It's and the backing that they've got, the support they've got selling season tickets, which I know a couple of teams do, but it's I think it's going to be interesting to see how dominant that they're actually going to be, because I think it's going to be we think they're all going to be dominant, but I think it's going to be way more than what we can even think.
Yeah, and with the European challenge that they have as well, that'll be another sort of interesting mix into this for them, won't it, as well?
I think Coach Russ is going to know that Prem South sort of like the back of his hand as well. I know he's involved with it for the last couple of years.
I'm going to take his opinion, not yours.
Exactly the same. I mean, how many games has he watched last season compared to I've watched last season? So, whatever he sort of says, I'm going to.
Yes, absolutely.
I might not agree that all the games are going to be competitive.
Oh
I
yeah,
think,
100%.
if you take the Aztecs games out of it, as he's alluding to there, they are going to be stronger than last year. But I think with the loss of the Warriors, the other 4 teams are going to be stronger as well. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what insight and what nuggets of information Coach Russ has, and I will quite happily take them off him in the DMs if he wants to send them across.
Absolutely, 100%. And then, so if we have a little look at Division 1 now, that's obviously not that much changed actually with it, with everything that's going on. Actually, that's just been pretty much mundane in its movement, right? So we obviously had the Hertfordshire Cheetahs who came down, and then for the life of me, I'm trying to remind myself who went up. So I'm going to bring up your graphic again, because it was the Hereford, Hereford Stampede that came up, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Not Hertfordshire.
Yes, absolutely. Herefordshire Stampede, and then who went down? It was the Berkshire Renegades. So, yeah, looking at that in particular, the SFC East, the one East, is basically unchanged, isn't it? It's a repeat of last year, where we obviously had the East Kent Mavericks and the London Olympians, who were the cream of the crop in that division, but didn't quite make it into the Prem in the finals. Wembley obviously beat them out of there. Hereford have come back up, so it feels like it's the same division of 3 years ago, but with Southern Thrashers mixed in because they were in the Prem back then. And then if we have a look at Central, the Hertfordshire Cheetahs replace Wembley Stallions in the Central there, and we have a repeat of that division effectively. Or we have the Oxford Saints as well, don't we, in that division? I don't think we had them last year, if memory serves. So, Stuart, some really, really competitive divisions. You could happily pick 2 to 3 winners of each division, do you think, out of all of them?
Yep, exactly the same as you could last season when you had the top 2 teams separated by 1 fixture each. And I've alluded to the Prem North being my second most competitive. I think again that SFC 1 East is sort of my pick of the bunch. Sort of basing it off last year, you had the East Kent Mavericks and the London Olympians at the top of the division, both with just 1 loss each, and that humdinger of a game that got interrupted by the duck, didn't it, when it was live streamed? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the clashes that we get in that Eastern division. But again, across the other 2, there's some fantastic matchups. The Blitz B, we've talked about the A team and whether they're going to compete against the Aztecs. Well, heck, look at the B team who, might have gone 4-4 last season, but that's only a game difference behind the Dreadnoughts. And, with the Stallions having gone to the Prem South with an absolute canter, excuse the pun, being joined by the Cheetahs who come down, how competitive are they going to be this season? You tend to look at teams going up saying, okay, we've gone up, my players will retire. Similar sort of things with teams coming down. They think, oh, well, okay, we're going down, I'll finish on a high with my Prem season type thing. So how is their roster going to be affected? And then, you look across at the West and the Thrashers, who actually beat the Rushmore Knights in a preseason game last weekend or the weekend before.
Yeah.
So, under Coach Dave Gibbs, the Test Park down there, they're going to be a threat to be reckoned with. South Wales Warriors are always hard-nosed, crunch football, solid on defence, a very hearty Welsh rugby area, just putting pads on and smashing the heck out of each other, game in, game out. And then what do the Apache bring now that the Aztecs have got their sort of development? What does that bring to the Apache program in the Southwest? So that's kind of 9 teams that I've mentioned there who have to be whittled down to 6 somehow for playoff football, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good luck, guys. I'm gonna sit back, open my popcorn and eat it for 3 months and enjoy the show.
They're always really enjoyable, aren't they? It's the last Well, we've covered the last 2 seasons, haven't we? In particular detail, and it feels like that. Every time we're looking at the South, going, "Wow, what 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 is going on there?" Obviously there are some runaways in that tier, but really, really good competitive football. And actually, our friend Wooly Mike was actually at that preseason game at the Thrashers Rushmore Nights, and his notes were, Thrashers are game ready with a strong run and pass and solid defense. Knights look to be bedding in under a new coach. Lots of work needed on all aspects. They are talented but need to gel as a team, which is obviously really interesting, isn't it? To get those nuggets from that Thrashers Rushmore Knights preseason. And what a game to start your preseason with, if on both sides, right? So yeah, really looking forward to this SFC 1. Always do. It's not going to be any different, because we've got the Hertfordshire Cheetahs joining that central division, which just opens a whole bag of questions, doesn't it, when it comes to what the Hertfordshire Cheetahs are going to do with their programme and that team in that division. And then if we have a look south in the SFC 2, we've then got this 4-team, which no cross conference in this, which we had 2 years ago. And actually we have a slight difference of team this time, because it felt like that these two divisions were quite the same for quite a while now. I don't know if you feel the same now still, but we've got Berkshire, Ipswich, Norwich and Ouse Valley. I feel as if we've seen that before, but then if we look down further west, we've got Cornwall, Plymouth, Somerset join Swindon as well. Some weird and wonderful football out of both of these divisions, haven't we, in years gone by? And we've had obviously Berkshire bounce up and down for a bit of luck of the alignment draw, I suppose. And Somerset obviously didn't do too well last year in Division 1.
I remember celebrating them getting a point.
Yeah, exactly. So Isaac, how are you feeling about these two divisions? Do we feel as if we might well, I suppose, are there any burning questions here in particular that might help us get across these divisions?
What are Plymouth going to be like in year 2? Last year had a decent start, if I remember rightly, but then kind of tailed off halfway through, and didn't really recover their starting form to the year. So it's going to be interesting to see how they treat year 2, learn from the mistakes that they made last year. Hopefully recruit better. They've got a year under the belt. People in the area now can see they're a real team. They are going to be competing, hopefully rising through the BAFA levels. But yeah, that's probably my main one going into this one. Traveling that one between like Somerset and Swindon, they have to go down to Cornwall and Devon and vice versa. That's going to be tough for them. The travel's a bit nicer in the other Division 2. It's going to be interesting. Again, we've seen these matchups countless times now. It's going to be nice to see if Berkshire can bounce back a bit like Birmingham, see if they've got a bit more of a Div 1 about them, and see what the real difference is. The bottom of Division 1 and the top of Division 2, see what that difference is kind of like. But no, I think that SFC 2 is going to be it's going to be great to see. It's going to be a spectacle all year round, and I think it's going to be much like the FFC 1, where each week's going to just provide us with something different that we probably didn't expect.
I reckon Berkshire will have something to say about the amount of travel that they'll have to do. But I certainly will be looking forward to seeing how Cornwall do, because I remember us celebrating a 40-point victory for Cornwall, which I don't think ever happened, and then they obviously made themselves into the playoffs, didn't they? And I think they lost to Oxford, if memory serves me right, last year. Yes, they did.
How do you remember that?
When you live it, you remember it. No, so I was trying to scramble then as well, but yeah, they did. 33-28 in the end to Oxford. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if they can improve as well. Stuart, any last comments from you around SFC2
Not overly. Obviously, one team has to go up and one team has to come down every year. So no matter what, we're going to see 3 of the same 4 teams competing against each other each year, and it's a dogfight. Like a little bit like the North is also a dogfight to get out of. With a smaller pool to try and escape from, it's more difficult. Sort of when you start to share out the wins and losses. Obviously, Plymouth finished 2 and 6, and Norwich finished 1 and 7. The other 3 teams in both divisions were plus 500 or better. So yeah, I think like it was between the other 4 teams in the Prem South that we were talking about, a slightly different type of dogfight. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting watch from our northern positions and see how the southern teams go about getting out of the Division 2. I don't want to call them the doldrums because they're really not. The Division 2, the Division
They're incredible.
2.
It's great football all year round.
Yeah, it's
where real
people,
athletes are.
It's people fighting and having fun at the same time. Like you can kind of tell the teams that want to escape because they're playing wholeheartedly. And I think this is why there's a lot of pushback against a merged Division 1 and Division 2, because there are teams at Division 2 level that are happy being Division 2 level. And I think, I'll be honest, I think once we merge Division 1 and Division 2, that's when we'll see some more teams drop out and go, can we just play recreationally? And we'll see what happens at that point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, won't it? SFC 2 is where you find the real scores, the 2-0s, the 7-6s, and all that. That's when the real scores are made, isn't it? In SFC 2.
Start ticking off the scorigami.
Absolutely, 100%. So yeah, we've gone really long there, but that's okay because we were previewing what we've always been waiting for a number of weeks now, haven't we?
A bit like a lifetime.
But absolutely.
Gosh.
But keep an eye out on our socials because we'll start breaking down some of the fixtures, some of the alignments as well. I'm really looking forward to really deep diving into that and seeing what we've got, where you should be circling your calendars. Let's put it that way, because we're in for a really fun summer season, and we haven't even touched upon the NWFL, the under-19s and the under-16s, let alone the regional, which we believe news will be coming down the pipeline about that soon. And obviously,
I coached it and I've been told the thing.
Yeah, and we've then also got some news emerging of a regional BUCS flag league as well, haven't we, which we'll have to get into and break down as well. So yeah, tons to keep going with, and we'll look forward to getting into that with you. So we have gone very long today. Is there anything that we have to get into before we get out of here for another week?
No, you say circle a date on your calendar, 21st of June. That's the one that I'm shouting out. There's flag football week 5. Apparently there's a indoor arena league team starting that might play that weekend. The London football team play at home that weekend, and we've got a full slate of contact football as well. So 21st of June, circle it, pinboard it, book it off.
I think you've done that. You've done that on purpose because we're not playing. But it's fine. It's okay.
It's all right. You can go and watch the England Eruptors in the Arena League, Isaac.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Less said about that, the better, guys. Okay, if I start saying that, we'll get myself in trouble.
Watch it on the computer.
Great stuff. Awesome, guys. Well, let's get out of here. An hour and 20 minutes in. That's plenty of time to be getting on with. Thank you once again for joining us on this Interpretable podcast. Great to have all the comments that we get as well to give us some insight. The summer season's rolling in. We'll see BUCS in the rearview mirror very soon. We'll bring you more previews, and we'll be joined by Kiwi, I'm sure, in the coming future, in the not so distant future as well. To bring you the NWFL insight as well. NFFL Flag podcast is up on our YouTube channel as well. So go and have a look at that. Nick and Aaron break down the game day 1 of the National Flag Football League. So head over there as well. Thank you for those who joined us. Thank you, Stuart and Isaac, as always.